Hey there, so today I'm going to be changing the oil in my car, and the first thing you need is some really shitty clothes, because you don't want to get your good clothes dirty. So I got a sweater here, and I got these pants, I'm going to be wearing flip-flops, and then you're going to find out what type of oil your car needs. My car needs 520, and the oil filter, and I should note that I'm using synthetic, because if you use regular oil, then you have to change it every 6 months or so many miles. But if you choose synthetic, you can change it once a year. And so I change it every year on a July or an August. And so let's get started. I mentioned that I'm dropping a can of this in the engine oil, and I'm gonna drop another can of this in the gas tank. And also I'll be using this. This is Lucas upper cylinder lubricant, and I'll be using this every time I fill my my tank. The gas, like each notch, I believe each notch is about 10 milliliters, about roughly 9 milliliters, and yeah, that's it. You also need this oil wrench. You probably need a tool set, like a socket set, and some buckets to catch the oil. I'm also using a creeper because I don't want to get down on the floor, but you don't have to use a creeper if you don't want to. And I just want to mention that, like in life in general, if you want to be independent, there's a couple of things you need is trust. So you need a mechanic that you trust. So you need to find a mechanic you trust, and you need to find a contractor you trust. And yeah. Okay, so let's pop the hood and see what we have here. And also the floor should be very sturdy. Like if you're doing this on asphalt, it's gonna indent the asphalt. So it's best to do this on a cement floor or maybe on the street. Let's get this. Here we go. And right over here, here's where your oil is. You're probably gonna need one of these and some. I have some leftover oil, but I have my castor oil, which I'm gonna be using. And yeah, let's get the car jacked up. You're using the jack. You want to make sure your jack is under a piece of metal. This piece here, so over here, and I see it's right under that metal, so I'm just gonna pump it up a bit. There we go. And let's jack this up. There we go. And then after that, I'm gonna stick this jack underneath. Make sure your jack stand is under a piece of metal. So right here, this is what this is. This is a piece of metal jack stand. So you want to pump this as high as you can. I think maybe that is as high as it can go. Okay, I think this is as high. And okay, yeah, and then slowly but surely release the air. There. And it's holding. Yeah, it's holding. Looks good. Okay, let's tighten that. Pull this out. And let's do the other side. And do your own oil change. It's because you may not necessarily trust the oil changing guys. And this is you can do this in the summer. It's a nice, easy skill. See this underneath a piece of metal? A little plastic here, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. And yeah. Okay, so let's get underneath here and see what we're doing. So over here, this circular thing, that is your oil filter. And logically speaking, the closest plug, there's two plugs, this plug here and the plug here, but here and here is close proximity. So this is where your oil is, and this we're gonna get a closer look. So right there, we're gonna have to, and I gotta find the right bolt, and I'm gonna turn this, and the oil's gonna come out, and I'm gonna catch it in one of those bins. Okay. So I'm using a 17 millimeter socket and a socket wrench, and again I'm gonna put it here. Use the right hand rule, which means this way, so you turn it this way for it to come out. So turn it that way. So this way, you gotta push it upward. So this is the There we go. You turn that. That goes there. And you might want to use, well, depending on how tight this is, you may want to use like something to help you. We'll see if I can get this first. Oh, that's tough. So I'm using this pipe here as to get extra torque on it, and so it should be good now. There we go. Now that's loose. The oil should be shooting out. There we go. And we're going to catch all that oil and clean up. So you're also going to need an Allen key. I am pulling out a 6mm Allen key. And get my bucket here. Again, you want to turn it this way because I'm going to remove the oil filter. And so stick it up here this way. So I'm going to push. There we go. It's loose. And the whole thing is gonna fall in this bucket. There you go. You don't need any more. And it's gonna get more oil. There we go. Some more oil down there. Okay. And then oil spills are inevitable. They're not inevitable, but you know they happen. So don't sweat it if it does happen. And I've tried other tools. I found that this is a cheap tool, but I found it's the only really effective tool of pulling out these oil filters. So again, the right hand rule, you want to turn it this way, so it comes out that way. So it tightens like this. So you would put it on like this, and then you tighten it, and then you twist it. There we go. It's coming out. Again, and twist it. So it's coming out slowly but surely. So this is a bit of a tedious process, but it's the summer and oops, this way. So this is the only real effective tool I found. Come out like this, and so all you need, well, let's oil that out. Yeah, it is a messy process, very messy process, but what can you do? And what we're gonna do here is we are gonna replace this filter with a new one. There we go. A lot of oil. And this O-ring as well. You need to replace that O-ring. So let's replace this here. Let's get this box open. So we have here our new oil filter and an O-ring, which we have to replace over here. So let's get this O-ring out. And what you want to do is you always want to make sure this oil ring is lubed up as well. So let's remove this. Goes in, what does it really matter how it goes? I guess it's facing up. So that goes there. And we'll remove the O-ring. Remove that. And you want to make sure that this O-ring has lube on it. Oh, you also you want to just I'm gonna empty all that oil out. So this is from the oil. This is from the oil plug as well, from on top here. And you also want to change this O-ring as well. So let's pull this one out using a screwdriver. It's a little tricky sometimes, but here we go. Pull that out and put that over here, and then we're gonna replace that with a new one in here. Here we go. And again, these two O-rings should be in oil. So this is a little bit of oil. So pour some oil here, and then we are going to just dip this in there, and then I'm going to put that on here. Everything in reverse. Put this back on. And then we'll tighten that as well. Let's get this tightened. And then, okay. I'm going to stick this plug back in. And that's enough oil. Oops, let's put this aside. We'll tighten this. There. This does not need an O-ring. Pull this out. And we're going to use our wrench. I guess we're going to put it the other direction. And so we're tightening it this way, so it has to be, yeah, this direction. And it just needs to be hand tightened. I think that's good enough. The very last step here is to check the oil level. I ran the car a couple minutes and I let it cool down, and so we pull this out, wipe it off, and we'll be looking here. We're gonna stick it back in and see what the oil level is. The oil level should be pretty low. Oh, you see here the oil level. It's very faint, but you can see it's right up there to the almost to the full mark. Yeah. Try not to overfill it. It's very bad. It's like too much pressure in the oil tank. If there's too much oil, and just to check it a couple times. Yeah, it looks about right. It's up to the max point. It's hard to see, but yeah. So everything looks good. The oil. You want to start the car, and you may want to rev it a couple times. Let's put it in neutral.
At the end of this hour, got 29 minutes.
This is good for the engine. And then you stop it, and then wait maybe 30 minutes, and then check the oil again. The oil level on the engine. Not least, you want to put all your old oil. You can leave it in the bucket, or you can put it in one of these containers, like the used containers, and you just leave it outside of Canadian Tire or any sort of mechanic place, and they know how to dispose of it. I normally go there, you know, around. Well, you just drop it off there in the front, and then they'll take care of it. And that's it.